Okay, I've got kind of a oddity here. One of my co-workers had this gun stolen from her about 20 years ago. The police just recently returned it to her, and she wanted me to take it apart, clean it up, see if there's anything I can do to make it function a little bit better. What we have is a Bryco Jennings 380, called a Bryco 38 on the side. If you know anything about firearms, this has a not a great history. There have been recalls on this gun because it is not drop safe. So if you have a round in the chamber and you drop this gun, it probably is going to go off. It has certain structural weaknesses, which some people state have, literally blown the gun apart while it's been fired. If you have one of these, personally I would recommend hanging it on the shelf and probably not using it on a regular basis, but she wanted me to see what I could do with it, so I'll give it a shot. This is an odd variant of a striker-fired firearm. I'm going to see if I can get this to focus in on the back. Okay, you see in there, that is where the firing pin will go once I cock this here. Oops. And it does not cock easy. There we go. And again, let me get the focus here. Okay, so you should be able to see a little pin in there now, and upon pulling it, when you pull the trigger, the firing pin goes in much like a striker. There's no hammer here, and does, hopefully launch a projectile. Taking this thing apart, this is be the second time I took it apart. First time I took it apart was a few minutes ago, and then it will lift off the body. And some parts just flew out there. We'll lift off the body. First time I took it apart was a few minutes ago, and I found the springs and put it back together again so I can do it again. What you want to do is you will press in on this rear button here where the striker is. You want to make sure, of course, unloaded, no magazine in there. And then lift upwards slightly while you're doing so. Press in on that, lift the slide up slightly and off, and you want to put your finger over here because things will go flying. So, like this. And just kind of rock this off. Back and out. Again, my finger is still over the end there. And when I release my finger, the firing mechanism clears itself. On the inside of here, on the inside of the firearm, you can see this is where that pin came through. That hooks onto the frame. And let me shine a bit of light in here, hopefully I don't over glare it. You can see the firing pin coming out the end there, which is why this is not drop safe. And there's a little spring in there. So when you cock this weapon, the firing pin catches on the end of this little catch here, and you release the trigger. That goes down slightly. See, and when you pull the trigger, that goes down slightly, which causes the spring tension that was built up by the pin being pushed back and cocked. See if we can get a small punch in there. So the pin actually goes back and catches on that. When that releases, it goes forward, fires the weapon. Just want to show you what that looks like in here. So here is your firing mechanism. That is your firing pin. This little lip is what catches on the trigger. Not a very stout piece of metal at all. and that goes inside of this spring, and it all compresses back in. So when you saw that pin coming out, that's what you saw there. Okay, so the weapon does not have a guide rod. It does have a return spring, as it needs. There's no guide rod for this spring, which is kind of weird. Feed ramp is probably part of our issue. That is rather corroded. I'll have to clean that up a bit. And the feed ramp looks a bit better with all this light on it, but trust me, that is corroded. That's going to need some cleaning. Don't see any major structural defects with the weapon. It is a fixed and pinned barrel. So a straight blowback design here. The barrel's kind of nasty. Very, very slight rifling inside of there. Let me put this back together here. I want to see if I can show you how this thing functions. It is an interesting design and how it functions, but fortunately the build quality was so bad on these. Never really got a chance to survive much before getting banned. And there we go. Okay, so I'm holding this in what would be the cocked and ready position here. Firing pin is back. It is poking through the hole there, and as you can see, you have this little spur here is all that holds that firing pin back. Again, not drop safe. So you pull the hammer, that goes down, releases the pin into the primer. Reassembly is a three-handed operation, but it can be done. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera off. I'm going to try and just polish this thing up a little bit. I don't have a whole lot of hope for this functioning too well. All you can see is you pull the trigger back. That's the whole function of the trigger. It's just to lower that little catch by that little hair. Alright, so I'm going to polish this up a bit, put it back together, see if I can make it function. So I have this basically cleaned and lubed. Let's kind of put it back together here. To do so, you want to assemble your firing pin, spring, and striker back, whatever that particular piece is called, all together inside of the top slide. There's a little hook here that you're going to want to hook that into while you are cramming the front of this guide spring into position. So it's pretty much a three-handed operation, and we'll see if I can pull it off here. Hold that thusly, nose you in. That to compress. Good, good. You in. Just trying to get that thing to go in the hole. Go in the hole. Where are you? There. Ah! Okay, so basically while I had the front in, I was able to get a punch and push the stopper, the slide stopper, into its little hole, at which point it did fall back together again. Horrible design. And there is no slide stop on this. And pulling it back far enough to actually engage that striker is a challenge. There is a rudimentary safety. The safety disconnects both the trigger and your ability to move the slide back. I think that was one of the things they got sued on, is because you had to turn it off of safe to unload the weapon. Could have sued Glock a dozen times over for similar things to that. But safe doesn't go back. On safe you can cock it, if you can cock it. Some front serrations would have made a good benefit on this one. My fingers are a little bit oily, but that is not an easy weapon to cock and fire. I guess I'm going to take 6 rounds out of this and just see what happens. See if I blow myself up. See if it made any difference. Just because I've never fired one, and after today I will never probably want to fire one. But there we go. There's one last look, and I'm going to take this outside and scare the neighbors a bit. Okay, so as you saw, I was able to get 6 rounds successfully fired from here. Did not explode on me. Recoil was surprisingly light because this firearm is very, very heavy. I'm not sure how much it weighs, but probably near twice what my LC9 weighs. Getting that first round chambered was a bit difficult because this slide is very slick. Not much purchase on it. I actually had to use my offhand in order to rack that round. Once it was in there, it did function. No catastrophic failures. So just due to the reputation alone on this weapon, I would not recommend somebody carry it. But if it's all you got, it will probably work in a pinch. That's all I got for you. Have a good one.